Last week we were looking at the German Mr. Robot film, which I found out through watching wasn't quite like that. Who Am I? Kein System ist sicher. And I said we'd be looking at something that was very closely related. It wasn't until I was looking into it that I found out they were released in the same year, 2014. But this is Ubisoft's Watch Dogs, an Ubisoft-ified tale of a hacker, Aidan Pierce, out for vengeance because of the murder of some of his family members. And I say Ubisoft-ified. If you understand what I mean by that, you know exactly what I'm going to say next. Because for those who don't, Ubisoft games kind of rely on this idea of, here's your starting area, you'll wander around, but suddenly you won't have all the map markers in this area. Well, you need to find a tower of some sort and either look around or hack into it, depending on whether it's this or a different kind of game, say Assassin's Creed, to get all those collectibles unlocked and to access all the parts of this area, and repeat for the next area, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a bit of a drag sometimes. If you really don't enjoy the game, those moments will make you just give up on it. That wasn't what made me give up on this, though. This is like Bioshock. I tried it a few times and I couldn't get to grips with it. And anyone who's played it is probably going to immediately know what I'm going to say next if it wasn't the unlock this area, then that area mechanic. It was the driving. It's notoriously awful. I don't know if it was better when if a patch had come out or something when I finally got round to it, but I didn't find it as difficult on the last time, and I was actually able to complete it finally. Like I said again, during Bioshock, I'm not going to do a video on something that I haven't experienced fully myself. But it was a very interesting tale. I think it's what kept me coming back to it as someone who obviously enjoys things like Who Am I and Mr. Robot, who wanted to be at least a script kiddie but didn't really have the aptitude for it when I was growing up. I'll admit that. This fascinated me, the idea of basically hacking the world to really try and right a wrong. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be able to bring them back. That's a given. But if he can find out who it was and why they did it, maybe he'd get some closure. But of course, in the course of the game, he endangers his surviving family members, and that makes him feel even worse. Aidan is very much the typical protagonist of the era. Gruff, white male, who has a chip on his shoulder, whether warranted or not. It was basically, he was just lacking the beard, and he'd have been the perfect archetype for the time. But even with all of those flaws, I still wanted to get through it, and I'm so glad I did, because it really opened me up to this idea of, we're in a world where, cities are trying to have this interconnected thing where everyone's on this same network. And, we have global companies like Facebook who have issues of data, the fact that they take so much, everything that basically led to the GDPR being created. And this was a game that 4 years ago was kind of saying, this is what can go wrong. Anyone with the right tools, if your world is so interconnected, anyone with the right tools can turn it up on its head. They can control anything. Anything that is controlled by a computer can be hacked. Obviously, at the time it wasn't really probably that easy. And even now, you've got to be very specialised, I think, to know exactly how all the systems interconnect. So this isn't something that's going to happen tomorrow in Chicago, for argument's sake, given where it's set. But the idea that it could happen, if we don't think about what we're doing, if we don't pay attention to the way that we use technology. And that's really what I think this is. It's obviously, an action thriller involving a sort of grey hat hacker, I would say, because he has moments on both sides of the fence. I wouldn't consider him entirely white hat. The fact that he can just walk along and go, oh, your bank account, and there's some for me. That's not a white hat hacker, really. Not really. But, the fact that this story, revolves around him, but it tells us all of this about our own world, about how it could go wrong. I think, it is a great warning for us. I haven't played the second one yet. I don't know how it kind of expands on some of this idea, but it is on my list. But my backlog tends to be like 2 years or more behind. I wait until sales a lot of the time. Occasionally I'll splurge and treat myself, but I'm generally about 2 years behind, so I'm about time to probably actually pick that up, I think. But I do enjoy it in spite of its flaws. You know, the puzzles around, like, well, if I hack this and then jump to this, and, you know, having to kind of go a logical route and finding the right person with the, you know, with the body cam so you can actually get to the main guy. All that stuff was fun to me, and the idea, the mechanics of that were fascinating. But like I say, it's the meaning behind it, this warning of putting too much faith, I suppose, in technology. If you let it rule your life, then your life is open for exploit. It is what's, I suppose, explored in Who Am I? It is what's explored in Mr. Robot. Any kind of dystopian future sort of novel that you might pick up probably has something about technology messed us up. It's a warning we've been given for years. And some of it you can argue is, you know, the old man shouting at the clouds, I just don't understand it, therefore it's bad. But a lot of these games particularly are being created by younger teams. You know, they're not 60-year-olds, they're maybe 40-year-olds who have grown up with technology slowly sort of becoming more and more advanced and integrated into our lives. So these are people who are really seeing it firsthand of like, well, wait, if that happened, as much as I rely on it, this could be bad. You can kind of, you know, dismiss the old naysayers, if you will, you know, who just don't get it. But when people of your age group are saying it's wrong, maybe we need to sit up and listen. Technology run rampant is bad. Technology used wisely is good. At the end of the day, it's what makes, you know, what puts us above animals. The fact that we have the ability to use tools to enrich our lives and make things easier for us. It's why we're so impressed when we see certain types of monkeys starting to use sticks to fish, etc. We're seeing that evolution that we had years ago, or millennia ago, in action. So I'm not saying put down all technology, but I think the lesson to take from all this is be careful with it. And I think we need to look at it from both sides. You know, these last couple of weeks have really been on the side of like the hackers, you know, the people on the outside breaking the system and kind of, you know, wheedling their way in and kind of going, this is what can go wrong. But what if your government was the one controlling it all? What if the government could almost do a minority report, but with, you know, with technology instead of precognition? That's what was tackled in a game that I recently got hold of called Orwell. And I think we'll talk about that next time to round out this weird tangential link from Rami Malek through Mr. Robot to really what I wanted to get to, which is technology gone wrong. So I do hope you'll join me next week, and I hope you've enjoyed this weird tangential journey with me. It's definitely going to get interesting. So until then, as always, thank you for watching and take care.